So I have a quick random question for y'all, man.
Shoot,
You see,
shoot, shoot, shoot.
what is this cancel culture you seen all throughout social media, just throughout the United States, with people cutting off for the world of things? Women, even my wife, I seen her cut off friends for basically nothing, and women in general, how quick they could just cut off a friendship and zero contact for the rest of their lives, and they're okay. Question: What what grounds? What would be a reason for y'all to cut off a friend, no contact ever again, never to speak of again, block everything?
I've done this probably like once or twice. And I'm a very, very, very forgiving person. I'm very forgiving. I would say the one thing for me is like if we've had conversations and I've told things to you in confidence and you let that information out, that's it. Like, you could get away with a lot of other things, a lot of other things. You could damn near steal from me one time, and I might say, you know what, maybe they might really need it. But if I tell you something in confidence for real, and you go share up my business, especially when you air it, like air it out for real, we me and you can't power again, man. That's a
Ever
no.
again?
Nah, but I
Even
tell
if,
you,
golly,
that's
you
it,
know, what I
man.
mean, that's a serious violation, but I don't know if
Because
I'll cut
listen,
off
right,
somebody for that.
I'm a very open person. It's not really much things I don't tell people that I care whether I get out or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me to be very open all the time with all my business, that means if I tell you something, I say like, "Hey, yo, please don't like keep them the low." You know what I'm saying? That
Mm.
means it's really something I hold like serious to me because I air out everything else. So if you come and air that out, nah, man, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then
Yeah,
depending on what I tell you, you probably don't even have a good reason to air it out. So it's probably some kind of bad mind reason behind it too. Come on, bro, we out of there.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, it depends. It really does depend from person to person. I think it's less a question about cancel culture and more about what you identify as your boundaries, if you have
Mm,
any. Because a lot of people just existing without many boundaries. I realized recently that I was existing without many boundaries, and
Hmm.
so like currently dealing with something where I've had to cut off a friend, and I don't cut people off like that. Like I don't. Like yeah, I mean you got to come very very good. Um, and I think whatever the offense was is important, but I think that the bigger takeaway is that I have had to realize that I've given I've given much more of myself to a lot of friends than I've gotten. And it is like whether or not you willing to keep going up with that.
mm.
Like just and sometimes it don't even be cut off. Is like stop reaching out and then see if they reach out, and very often it'll just end right there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
to be honest, I can agree with that. Cause sometimes I wouldn't say like I would like even sometimes like voice or vibes like, hey yo, me read I didn't really appreciate this. It's kinda like a I was just kinda stop messing with you and then you don't really link me like that. So then eventually it's like, you know what, I just don't really fuck with this person no more. I probably never reach out to them. Don't get me,
Hmm.
but if they reach out to me, I wouldn't want to pick back up the conversation. It'd just be kinda like a, hey, we don't move on in our lives kind of vibes. Like, hey, ain't no beef. I wouldn't say it's beef. I don't hold no beef for nobody. I don't have no
Right,
beef
right,
with
right.
nobody on earth. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no hate for nobody. It's just certain things is like, you know what? Put this to the side. We don't really need to revisit this. Ain't no vibes. If you see me and you hail me up, me ain't gonna like this you and like, pretend you in there. I'm gonna say like, hey, what getting on? But then we just keep it going. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with that.
You know, I don't forget that you guys don't tell me any you. You
Yeah,
say,
yeah, it's
hey,
strong.
Ah
I don't.
man.
It's very strong. It is very strong. With me, I don't. I'm a very forgiving person. Like Biko. I mean, I guess I should start, but I don't really have too many boundaries. I mean, quite frankly, I don't like. I'm open, but I'm selectively open with specific people just based on personalities.
Mm.
So I mean, the only thing I could think of cutting somebody off, never talking to, is if somehow they have sex with my wife or some shit like that, or
The
or,
extreme.
or do something to my kids. It's extreme. It's extreme. That's the only thing I could think of. Other than like Yesterday, I asked Bryan if he wouldn't be my friend if I was to be convicted, arrested, go to jail for raping an underage girl. And of course, he was like, "No,
That's a
we
good
no
point.
longer, nothing. Just don't leave. Don't talk to me. Pass me
Hmm.
straight. I don't want anything to do with that
Yeah.
personality." So I mean, I could see something like that. Like if y'all was to do some weird extreme thing like that, it's
Yeah,
like I don't even want to be associated with this man. But
I agree.
nothing besides extreme cases.
No,
And hold
I
up,
can
let me come
completely
back
agree.
because I have this laptop camera. I don't know how to come with my camera. Hold on for 2 seconds.
Oh my god.
All right. Sorry, guys. I accidentally pressed stop recording when I really was supposed to exit myself and come back in with this beautiful quality right here. So we are back. We
We
are
try and get
back.
you when you grow up.
I think I wanted to close the loop on the last piece real quick. I think
Hmm.
that the reality is a lot of people, I think men especially, are willing to remain friends with people or closer people, even at those extremes. And I think that that's
That's true.
a conversation that needs to be had at some point. I know we talked about now, but it's just like an acknowledgement that you just see that lack of boundaries, and very often when it's extreme enough, it could lead to like perpetuating harm.
Nah, I completely agree. I've had a similar conversation about certain things like that. Even with there's people like the context of my conversation, I'm also like I've been having friends that don't show up for their children, and
Hmm.
like that shit, like you like that shit ain't really rocking with me. And I'm saying so that's another thing. I could say that's another thing maybe.
Yeah.
If you don't show up for your own children and them kind of things, like me and you can't really be no friends. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a child and then I notice these kind of things, I would pull you up about that. Ain't something I'm gonna keep to
Exactly, and
myself.
that's what I was going to say. That's one thing I would say is a big difference that you see between just men and women in general when it comes to friends. That you're
Mm-hmm.
going to kind of hold your friend accountable and pull them up first and really speak on certain things before any type of cutting off happen. Unless it's something just really extreme that don't need any explanation. But you would typically pull up a friend and talk to them and try to mend before cutting off.
I don't know, man. I've found that a lot of women to be more willing to confront the thing. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some immediate cutoffs. I've seen a lot, but
Hmm.
I've seen. I think what I see very often is men lead toward like avoidance, because when you would tend to be
Mm.
in our bubbles where we have similar friends who willing to confront, but when you step out of that, whether or not that's maintained, that's a discussion, you know.
True.
Very
Wow.
true.
Being like that, that could have been a big main topic, you know, because that could have segued into a lot of things. But I digress. I want to bring up something that I saw recently that I want to describe as like the right now how it feel on my timeline. It feels like a Michael Jordan versus LeBron situation for the women them right now. The way they arguing this thing. But just for context of how it came up, I had to go look for context because I was confused. But Miley Cyrus, Disney announced that I guess they do like a Disney Legends award show, something like that, and they announced that Miley Cyrus was being recognized. And I am assuming, based on the outrage, that Raven Simone did not get any. She is not on this list of legends yet. So the debate
Mm.
opened up of That's So Raven, well, really Raven versus Miley Cyrus, but obviously Miley Cyrus is known for Hannah Montana, and Raven is known for That's So Raven. So the discussion kind of became like the two shows, and people started talking about, oh, Miley Cyrus may be bigger in terms of like the music, like a bigger star, but when it comes to Disney Channel itself, Raven is Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So what I think about
I
that?
guess I,
If I
you know,
watch both of them, I
if
watch
I'm
both of
being,
them.
I mean,
So
I've watched both, and I like both shows. But if we being honest, and I think people are not gonna like me for this opinion. I really do think Hannah Montana was a bigger show. Personally preferred That's So
mm,
Raven. but I do think Hannah Montana was the biggest show. If we talking numbers, audience, I think I haven't seen the numbers personally. I do think Hannah Montana was the biggest show. Sorry, don't shoot me
So
down.
this happens to be a topic that I have specifically thought about a lot. Um, I think that I was so when you mentioned that was a topic, I mean a dang here already. So I think that let me acknowledge that Miley Cyrus is deserving of the award that she got.
I agree.
Let me just start there. Let's put that to the side. Raven now. People that think that's so Raven just because like that's the name, right? Raven, that's a Raven. But you gotta think about all of the installments of Cheetah Girls, how all of those
Mm-hmm.
had hits. You gotta talk about Xenon, how she was in
Mm-hmm.
those movies too. And so you could compare the two, but for me, I think that Miley is a Disney legend, but I consider Raven because she's not just Disney, a legend.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like because I mean, Jesus Christ, but the Cosby Show before that was um, that's legendary. I don't know what to say.
Facts. Facts.
I think that Miley Cyrus is a huge star in the context of Disney. And I think that she was on tour, like they worked like y'all hard. Disney used to work their on hard.
Mm-hmm.
But legend status, like legend, I gotta give it to Raven.
And I think I agree
I
with it
agree.
from
This is
from
why I
that
agree.
standpoint for sure.
So hold on, but I'm gonna back up Miley a little bit because we call out Xena and Cheetah Girls. Miley has voiced. She wasn't appearing like Raven, so we're gonna say that. But she has voiced a lot of Disney characters, and she's also have her music. Though we don't want to talk about it. Her music is on Disney as well. She just did a special with her song on Disney Plus. So, like you said, she's deserving of the title for real. But I want to note that That's So Raven came first. Like That's So Raven was like I don't think I know of course Disney were popping, but I don't think Disney were popping like that until That's So Raven really pop out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when I start really checking out Disney and start checking out the other shows
Mm-hmm.
on top of that. You know what I'm saying? And then like you said, the Cheetah Girls and Raven still has a show right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think she has a spin off like I think it's Raven's Home or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
she's
forget the
still
name, but
working, which I think played a part in the fact that she didn't get the award. No, this is just my
mm,
speculation because if we talk about let's talk about sports. You don't get into the Hall of Fame while you still running ball. You know what I'm saying? You get into the Hall of Fame after you retire. So maybe they give Miley her flowers and give her because she's technically kind of retired from the game and Raven on coming because she still has an upstanding show right now. You know what I'm saying? So we could wait until she decides to hang it up and give her award. But Raven is that girl, man. No, in terms of numbers, I gonna call the elephant in the room. And this is why I believe this is not me trying to pin no war or nothing, but Hannah Montana is going to appeal to a much bigger audience based on the fact, for one, she is a white woman in America. For two, her father was already a big star. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like she just come from the mud and just drop a show. Like
Mm-hmm.
people knew who she was. You know what I'm saying? They knew who she was. They
right.
knew who her father was. So she already had like a in marketing aspects. She already had that push behind her. You know what I'm saying? To be able to catapult to these kind of levels. You know what I'm saying? So I think that played a part in the successful numbers of That's So Raven. I don't think That's So Raven got as much as the marketing as Hannah Montana would have get. Whether that's for malicious reasons or not, I'm not here to discuss that. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion on the case. But I go in with Raven as well, man. Raven, I put in That's So Raven over Hannah Montana. I mean, care what I tell me. Call me biased, call me whatever. That's So Raven was it, man. Seeing into the future and shit.
But, but bottom line, yeah, both of them was good shows. Both of those are
Facts.
legends in their own rights. So respect to them two beautiful ladies. But without further ado, y'all black is on now. It's your boy Fari. Welcome to Come True, the podcast. I am your host. Have my co-host here with me.
I don't know the motherfucking vibe. It's your boy, the luxurious, the bearded, the beautiful Mr. fucking the show. Well, man, I don't know what time it is, man. Welcome back for another fucking episode. With us, we have
I like
a
this.
legend of VI legend, dog. I know my boy Biko, be an outspoken member of the community. I might have known them with the
Years.
dress, but we got a whole different persona right now coming to the podcast. But long-time partner of the crew, we have our boy, Mr. Biko McMillan. Thanks for gracing us. Introduce yourself, man. What anything you want to say?
For sure. Thanks for having me. I have a new nickname, a new street name.
All right, okay
Um,
then.
it is Books. That's the Books. I
Fitting.
have
Deserving name.
my brother. My brother gave me the name Books. Is up. He give me nicknames every year. But one time he referred to my apartment as the library because that's my books there, and
Mm.
I had to keep that one there. But yeah, we all graduate from complex together.
To be
Um,
churching in the building.
to get that big tune, that's me. I ain't heard it in a while. Um, Currently, I work in DC, but live in Maryland. At a nonprofit that works primarily in education policy.
Mm.
I'm an analyst, and before that, I worked at the Virgin Islands Bureau of Economic Research as a policy analyst. And then before that, I was at a cancer research lab in New York, interning. Not interning. I was a research technician. Um, and I think I took a very hard swing into policy because I realized that I like science, but I don't know if I wanted to do science.
Mm.
Mm,
When you're good at something, but you don't know if it's really what you want to do.
Facts,
right.
facts, facts, facts.
Yeah. So I think
Especially in
now we're
the career.
just deciding what. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I like what I do because I don't aim. It's not narrow. Like it is education, but I touch so many different topics. Though there's always something new. But yeah, I'm excited to be here and get a conversation started.
I like the guests we to be having that. We did have some real like prestigious guests. Want to be popping this shit on this podcast, eh? The
Hey, hey, hey.
shit up in the
Love to
bag.
see it. Love to see it.
Ain't no loafing game now. Yeah, in the bag.
That's the
Okay.
thing.
But before we get any further, Web, do your thing. Do your thing.
I know the vibes, man. Every pod, before we begin any serious talks, I like to give gratitude for the week, you know what I'm saying? For the week that just passed. If y'all don't know, we record on Sundays usually. So I like to give gratitude for the past week going into the new week. So just share something that you are thankful for, you are grateful for this week. It could be anything, family, friends, whatever. The mailman, drop your mail and put a mail in the mailbox a proper way. You like it when you take it out. Like whatever you want to do, man. We'll start with you, Biko. Something you're grateful for.
I When I have moved to New York, I had to ask my grandfather for money to buy a bed, and today I buy a monitor that's like long. I mean long, like a bigger ass
Mm.
monitor, and like I just decide I want and I buy it. I'm grateful for that.
Straight up. You got one of them Samsung, the big car one, man.
Yeah, that's the yeah
Hey,
yeah
I
yeah
know
yeah
you talking about.
hey.
I
Yeah,
know you
that was
talking
pretty
about.
awesome.
yeah. That's the one.
Nah,
All right.
respect it far
Financial
right.
growth, you got to always be happy for that. Me,
Yeah.
I just keeping it basic. I thankful for life, for waking up every day this week. For those that don't know, the audience most likely knows, and Biko don't. My daughter, she was born with a congenital heart disease, so she's had
Oh
one
man, I'm
surgery
sorry.
so far. It's all good. It's part of life, part of this unfair life we live in. But yeah, we going to Boston tomorrow, and
Oh,
for her to do her main surgery, Boston Children's. So just thankful for life, the time I've had with her. Thankful for waking up, God waking her up every morning. So that's what I'm grateful for.
All right, all right. First off, thanks and praises to the Most High. Ja. Stop.
Rastafari.
All right, you know what I'm saying? But now, man, give thanks for God for another being able to still be here. You know what I'm saying? Still be here, still rocking, still learning to grow. Also, give thanks to all the authors and the creators and just the humans who went through life and decided to write books and put information to be able to help other people get through whatever they're trying to get through and put that information to help others. Let's shout out to everybody that helping anybody do anything. You know what I'm saying? If you put a piece of content, if you give a bum a dollar on the side of the road, like whatever it is you do to contribute to something greater than yourself, give thanks for you today. You know what I'm saying? And I talking about the smallest things. If you buy some food for your partner, daughter, or son, or whatever, shout out to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Pat yourself on the back. You're doing a great thing for the community, man. And that's why I want to give thanks for. My thanks is for everybody, the whole world, for showing up. That's
Yes,
all I
I
get to.
thank you, world. So now let's just get into it, man. So have some pretty serious topics today. Less jokes. I mean, I'm sure they'll have jokes trickled in between just because of who we are, you know. But starting with first topic. So we know it's no secret that it's a pretty common belief that masculinity is being attacked, especially in America, and with an emphasis on the black man. So I guess I'll start with you, Biko, the guess. What are your thoughts on this?
Under attack by who?
Mm,
That'd be my first question, because at the at the root of things, we still live in a society where men kind of run the show. So
Hmm.
who is doing the attacking? Or like I think that we to do ourselves a disservice by, I think, trying to take what is often valid criticism as an attack, instead of listening. And don't get me wrong, like everyone does this. Nobody wants to be criticized, right?
Facts.
Um, but I also think that, especially when it comes to black women, like, do we really listen to the complaints that they are making, or is it just like, let me listen to respond? Like, it's, what is that relationship like? Who is setting up the conditions for men to be attacked, especially black men? So yeah, like I'd have more questions than the answers when we get on this topic.
Nah, you're making some damn fucking good points, in my opinion. But you want to share more? You want to just bounce back? I want to
No,
share
no,
a
wait,
little
no,
bit.
you could go ahead.
All right. As a black man, I don't feel like there's anything trying to demasculate me. Like, I feel like it's another. Okay, so I think there's an attack, and I obviously I know the topics for today, so I know we're getting to what I think that real attack is a little bit. But in terms of this conversation of demasculization, like I don't, for one, I don't think like that attack is going to hold much merit or change. Like Biko kind of asked, like for what? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, what is to gain from that? That would be my question. What is to gain from it? And I more feel like it's us creating another scapegoat to kind of like express our feelings about a certain thing that's going on in terms of men coming out and being a little bit more what we want to say feminine or getting in touch with the feminine side. I feel like a lot of black men specifically has a problem with that in general. And because they can't really pinpoint like where the fuck it coming from, is like, okay, you know what? We're gonna blame what we to blame for every fucking other thing when it comes to the blacks and the black men and these things. Let's go towards and the who is. This is not my opinion. This is from what I'm hearing at least. The who is the government or the society, but like because I share most of the time is kind of man kind of running this kind of vibes. You know what I'm saying? So are we saying that? And I was talking real and raw. Are we saying that white men doing this? Are we saying that white women doing this? Are we saying that black women doing this? Like, who are we accusing of kind of doing it, and then for what, to what gain? To gain exactly what? And that's where it don't kind of make sense to me. Like, what do they have to? Okay, they're gonna break up the home by making men more feminine. Is that it? Like, what are we really talking about here? You know what I'm saying? And how does that really make sense? I think it's just black men having a problem with the more openness of the world right now. So they want to find somebody to kind of blame and some kind of thing to say about, hey, it's another attack on us as usual. And I think that's
No,
what they
I disagree with that a little bit.
wait, okay, but hold on. Let me introduce my partner, all right? Before you don't come in here and just
He coming,
bombard
yeah,
our podcast,
bruh, bruh,
bring
bruh,
up from the
disagree.
jump, arguing, having this good conversation. But better late than never. I don't know my dog, Patrick, aka Bryan, in the fucking building, man. But
Hello,
now,
hello.
we're gonna share your gratitude after this topic because we ain't gonna get away
Mhm.
from that. But go ahead.
I know it came in a little on the back end of what you were saying, but in terms of gain, to me, the gain that they gain is simple because the mere humiliation of the black man in any sense is a gain and in the spectrum of the quote unquote white man's realm because it's a lot of industries what are like especially in the media to break in a lot of these things when you look at the top most of these medias are run by white people and to say that you they don't control these things is kind of false because like it's been accounted for. It's well documented that a lot of upcomers in different streams, whether music, acting, journalism, they had to go through certain things before they were quote unquote put on. You check, so it goes to like when you see the black man having to, as a comedian, dress up as a woman, or the journalist has to cover certain stories, or certain kind of music they're willing to push if you're a certain color you for you who is only seeing it on the outside and the humiliation pattern, yeah, the black man is agreeing to these things. You can't say that nothing is being gained because you can see the outcome that's coming from it. Like if I make you less of a man, then the chain effect is great. You're less of a man. You feel like less of a man. The woman views you as less of a man, so she no longer needs you because you're the same as her. The family dynamic breaks apart. That's a trickle down effect. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I mean, you can't say there's no. There's a lot of loss on our end from those kind of things.
Let me
But
ask a question.
that was on the back end. So you fill me in if I missed anything.
I think you'll answer the same question I was about to ask. But go ahead.
Let me see. You ever see the movie She's the Man with Amanda Bynes?
Yes,
I
Yes.
haven't seen it.
So
Well, the
it's
one that's the one about her playing with Saka.
Saka,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
she
Okay, yeah,
replaced her
yeah. I
brother
watched
playing
it.
Saka.
Uh huh.
Why is she not considered humiliated or less of a woman by that movie?
Because the society that we live in
Who created it?
no. Listen to this, but it goes both ways. Along with the demasculation of men, it's the masculation of women. They go hand in hand. I'm not separating them.
Hmm.
So they're trying. You could see it like just like you brought that. There's a lot of push on the masculation of women as well as that's what the word terms hyper masculinity. So even to the simple fact that just being a man's man is toxic, and a woman doing everything was quote unquote the man used to do for her once upon a go is empowering. So they go hand in hand. I do not separate those two. As they try to feminize men, they're masculizing women. They go hand in hand for me. For
Who
me,
is who is upholding the system though?
that's the true question.
Men is the answer, by the
So
way.
so
I you
so let me let me
you
let me
can't
jump in
necessarily say that.
with my opinion before y'all
Go
continue
ahead
this
before I come
back
back to
and forth.
Biko.
This might be the only
Golly.
topic today, Mr. Kabiga. Like,
So
this a rabbit
so
hole. A
it
rabbit
is.
hole.
No, there's a whole lot could get really really deep. And if we want to go that deep we can. But I I do think that there is some form of an attack on masculinity and femininity. Like like Bryan said, especially in media. If you look at the media and you kind of look what's being portrayed, and like you
Hmm.
said, Biko, men run this stuff, but it's typically not black men. It's white men. So when you look at just the characters and stuff that's coming out more and more, you always see the independent, the strong, the career building black woman. But on the other end of it, you don't typically see that portrayed in media. And I'm not saying that we should be influenced by media, but it's just there. And
It's a trend we're
media has
living
been years they've used the media for just micro programming. um, I do feel as though a lot of the positions you see men in, the roles that you see men playing, whether in movies or TV shows or this or that, they are always in, not always, I can't use the term always, but they're oftentimes in emasculating roles, whether they're with a woman who's a breadwinner that's belittling the man who's going out to cheat on this man to go with somebody outside of that race who's the better man, who's bringing in more money, who's doing this or doing that, and going for the white man. Or you see, anytime you see a successful black woman in a healthy relationship, it's usually outside of being with a black man. It's just, anytime there is a hyper feminine man, they usually specifically use black men for those roles outside of white men. It's and it's just more and more becoming even more common in TV shows today. Not not referring to the gay black man. I'm referring to just one, men that's in these roles that's either acting like women or are in submissive, or you get my point. Um, and
kind
I
of
do
soda.
believe this stem I do believe this stems from just looking back in history, which it's going down a rabbit hole. I want y'all guys to kind of jump in, and I'm gonna probably go
You
back
have to
to the 1960s and things like that.
he got too far.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly, whether or not I don't actually think he did go back too far. But I can get back to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
You made a point that I needed to ask a question about. Oh, why is the strong, independent black woman seen as an attack on masculinity
And in
and
that
not
case, that's not
a signal that?
that black men should be stepping the fuck up and doing what they got to do. Um, I,
Yeah, it's
I
like
in
why is
that
it
case,
not?
well, I referenced that. That was not me referencing the
Yeah,
masculinizing black men. It was more so the masculinizing. That's the word, right? Black women in that case. Not necessarily a attack on
I
masculinity, but more so an attack on femininity. And I don't think attack
I
is
mean,
the best word to be using in this case,
yeah, I don't think you
but
mean to say attack. Like my thought on Tafari's statement, excuse me, Biko, would kind of be like, to me, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a strong, powerful black woman,
nothing
but
at all.
in how they're portrayed in the movies is because I'm a strong black woman, I don't need no man. I gonna do this and do that, and
maybe she doesn't.
but that's perfectly fine. But it's the constant connotation because like we just use an example of these like a Tyler Perry movie or every Tyler Perry movie. This black woman you're rooting for, she's the top of her game, this and that, and then she falling in love, but she can't be in love because this black man is a bum. Not a bum, he's not poor, he's not on the street. He just a regular Joe, you know what I'm saying? And it'll have like this negative lash, like he too soft, like he do this and that, So I think that's what Tafari was going. He could correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't want to go down that same path as him, but that's the thought I gained from it. Like the second he said that, the first thing that popped into my head was every Tyler Perry movie I've ever seen.
But and being a lie, that's the first thing I think too. But we gotta realize who
Uh-huh.
the hell controlling Tyler Perry to do these things.
But that's the thing, like, but Tyler
It's
Perry,
Tyler
he's
Perry.
a pawn in his own thing. He's a pawn in his own game, but I ain't going on that rabbit hole.
I mean, he the right direct. I mean, he does everything for all of his movies. He is
Yeah, and
controlling himself.
he is
Like,
definitely he is one of the biggest
So
pushers of feminine black men.
well,
but is it attack? Is it attack by? Is it attack from a black man? Is he attacking black men? And all the people that take these roles,
Mhm.
knowing that they ain't damn have to.
That's the thing. They hungry. They ain't
They're
getting
trying to get
no other
paid.
gigs.
This is why.
And
This is why.
this black man is telling me that if I don't
um,
want, that's the thing. Like you gatekeeping, like you telling me like, okay,
I don't
you a
know
black
about that.
man,
I don't know
and
about
dude,
that. I don't
tell
know
me,
about that
you dive in,
because
Biko, you let me know.
I mean, like, think about the people who'd be in his movies: Lynn Whitfield, Kimberly, Elise, the sister of Kimberly. At least I'm thinking about um, Family Reunion. You had Cicely Tyson, Maya Angelou. These aren't people who need these roles.
Yeah, but you see, you literally listed off a couple of women. Let's talk about the men that are in these movies that you don't even know who they are. Those are the ones he's giving these roles to.
I can't. Let
I
me.
don't know the last time you looked at a Tyler Perry movie. That's what I don't know. I don't know the last time I looked at one. Let me dial that back.
And to answer your
I watched one
question,
of
Webb,
them.
to answer your question, is Tyler Perry attacking the black man? I'm not going to say yes, but I believe that, well, not fully believe, that black men in these powerful roles of influence are allowed to exist in those roles until they start
You
shedding a
you
positive light on certain things, and then it becomes an issue for the mainstream, and then that's when you start seeing
I gonna keep
backlash.
this real,
That's when
right?
you start seeing blackballing. That's when you start seeing this and that. Similar to the music industry, you have to push out certain things,
I don't think
and what are you saying?
this is the last thing I understand this, right? I don't believe it. I don't tell a story, and they're going.
mhm.
I had a sergeant. I ain't gonna tell his name, but there's a sergeant in the military, very feminine dude to the point I thought he was gay. Whole strong black man with a whole family. There was no problem with him being feminine, and this is my point to the whole thing: being feminine. By what the fuck our definition is as feminine at this point? It could change by the fucking day. But there was no problem with him being feminine, and this is why he's saying to what again? Like, what does it really do? You could still be in touch with your feminine side. You could still do little feminine things here and there, whatever you want to define as feminine things here and there, and still be a very powerful black man and still stand on business and still have your family and
This
still
is
have
true.
these things. The problem becomes when we, the people that's controlling this narrative of our people, is showing up our own people. So who the fuck is really against us? Do you okay? Let's talk about it. Do we gonna sit down here? Are we talking at this point? We're talking about white men and these different people, right? The people, the men that are feminine within their communities, are they facing this kind of backlash and having these kind of fucking problems and having these kind of discussions?
Who knows? I
Wait,
don't
wait,
know. I
wait.
can't speak
Run
for
that
them.
question back again.
I don't sit at their
In
table.
the other communities, because at this point we're talking about it sounds like mostly like the white men that's in control. Cause I think we are in consensus that men kind of control what's going on in this
In the
society.
world,
So
right?
we
Mhm.
speaking if we saying black men being an attack, we kind of talking about white men doing the attacking. So I'm
Mhm.
asking does like when we if we take a look at their community and take a look at the feminine roles that some of their men have had and done these things, are they having these same kind of conversation or having any problems?
I do not know. I do not sit at their table. So
The
how can
answer
I
is
speak for
yes.
them?
Sorry, the answer is yes. I have a lot of friends across a different, like a large spectrum.
Mhm.
Um, and I should acknowledge first of all, I don't believe in gender roles like that. I having this conversation for the sake of talking, but like
Mhm.
Fair.
I don't really believe in them. I think that we've gotten to a point
Mhm.
within human intelligence where the need to hold firm to those things is almost an attack on our capacity for critical thinking. What is the need for this binary? Like what does that what benefit does that produce? What benefit does it produce when you have so many other things that you need to talk about, like education, currently being underfunded everywhere. Um, I think sorry, I pivoted to education because I was going to into something else, but I changed my mind. I don't feel like talking about it anymore. Um,
Good
the
point, by the
point
way.
is,
Good, very, very good point. Very good point. That's gonna come up in
like
a topic later on.
the thing is, because I have friends who are transgender. Like,
Mhm.
in order for me to maintain my friendship with
Mhm.
people who are trans, is like my ideas about gender had to have gone like out the door.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing. I don't ascribe to. But I think the other point is, there are factions of men who, or men and boys who, you could make the argument are under some kind of attack.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if you look at like um test achievement scores, you'll see that boys, especially black boys, score very very low compared to their peers, including black girls.
Mhm.
You could look at rates of suicide. Men complete suicide at much higher rate than women do.
Mhm.
So like there are all of these really important things that internally as men we
Mhm.
could work on. But I think that we have gotten used to a spirit of skirting accountability,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
much
Agree.
so that the issues that we face are all external in many of our minds, when there are
Ooh.
we could
Hey,
do right now.
hey, my boy is just
And
listen, right?
that's a
I
drop
don't know if
mic
you've
on
been
this
watching my,
topic.
well, you probably ain't been seeing my content, Biko. But listen, right? This is what the fuck I be trying to preach in the dog.
That was
And I don't
gems
think
when he was
people,
dropping in.
listen, I gonna probably clip that, right? And people is not going to take this very seriously. I don't think they understand like how like important and how powerful what you just say is, and powerful in the sense of to be able to acknowledge it and then go out there and make a conscious effort to be able to take back control of what you think you don't really have control of.
Yeah, because I
And
mean, recently, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, you
Oh,
can.
okay.
Oh,
I had a
yeah, go.
tweet I see recently, that was like, basically the gist of it was, black men need to become mentors to black boys. And so many black men got up in an uproar. You're like, fuck, like being mentor, what they father there? And it's like, you're very much aware that black men have very high rates, disproportionate rates of going to prison, and then once they're released from prison, they go back in. You
Mhm.
have the fact that employment becomes difficult in those situations. All this to say, there are these things stuck against black people as a consequence of white supremacy, and we have shifted our meaning black people, our
Mhm.
tendency to move as a community into something that is very individualistic, and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
we don't
Mm-hmm.
allow ourselves to like use our skills and talents and just our general existence to pour back into our own communities. So it's like, it's really a look in. Like, we got to look at ourselves before looking at anybody else.
I ain't gonna lie to you, right? Fuck the topics that we had for today. Fuck the topics. My boy Books is talking some shit, right? So
Books.
I had a
Oh, Bryan, that's
conversation.
my
Hey,
street name, by the way. Books. That's my
that,
nickname.
that
Oh,
Yeah, that's a new nickname,
that's his
Books.
new name
And my
now.
boy Books hit in that. Listen, right? And maybe this might be a segue. What you just talk about in terms of us being able to identify that we are the fucking problem. Listen, right?
Sometimes white supremacy still
Sometimes,
exists.
sometimes, 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 not all the time.
sometimes, not all the time.
Yes,
Often, but not always.
I
I,
I have had a
I
go
have
ahead,
something to
Farah.
say when you're done. I was
No,
gonna
no, you go
say,
ahead. You go ahead first.
oh,
You go ahead
okay.
first.
I was gonna say, like Biko said, we are the problem sometimes, but they are a lot of systemic things that are in place, that were in place, that still exist today, that were designed to keep us down. Whether it was from years back and we still feel the effects of it today, or whether it's still integrated into these systems now. Um, what I will say though, we have to be able to identify that and live within that system, because at the end of the day, we get to make the choices on a day to day basis in progressing ourselves forward. Through these systems that do exist, we can't just blame that for why we're here now and why we're still here for the next 10 years. But those systems do
Yeah,
exist. So we can't say that we the problem always the problem,
yeah,
and that
no,
there
not at
ain't
all.
external stuff that does exist. Yeah, that
No,
that
for sure. Because like you have the wage gap between men and women, yes, but also when you look at the wage gap between black men and white men, that gap still exists. Like that's not black men saying I want to make less than white men. So like it's still like you said those systemic things, and I think that that's a big part of why I've been so drawn to policy, because that's the devil is in the details. And
I love that.
we I think especially when we begin sort of like grassroots organizing, so much of it, and I don't know if fuck I didn't care. So much of it to be grounded in emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and that needs to be there. That needs to be there,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that enough of it is grounded in what the realities are of the policies that are in place. That may keep perpetuating some of these things that we have no control over.
I gonna learn a lot from this discussion. I mean, I know we kind of in, and I still learning already, but I really appreciate these kind of conversations. Now, real talk, because it's different perspectives, and because you've been in these positions to be able to see some of these policies and things, you give a completely different outlook as to what's going on. Because we could sit on here and talk sometimes, but we don't really know what's going on. Like you said, sometimes the devil's in the details. You're in a position to see some of the details, may not be all of, obviously, but you're in a position to see some that could not be privy to at all. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate the discussion. But I've always had this notion of, I feel like also now we just have a discussion about black people at this point, but I feel like also the black people are so easily influenced and easily swayed, and we don't really show as much togetherness as we can. And I feel like that lack of selflessness and that push towards everybody in our community being individuals more so than, in my opinion, any other community, is kind of what dominates us in our push for a lot of things that we kind of ask for. Because how can we achieve certain things if all of us in ourselves, in our own realms, are acting as individuals and are not willing to make sacrifices for the greater good of
but you
us
see,
as a being?
when you bring that up, it then causes me to think of, because prior to the 60s, like I was saying before, the black family was pretty strong. And this is through all of the racism, the legal discrimination, all of that. The black family was super strong. It was after
Gone.
I
Again.
think it's after the 60s into the 70s where policies and different things came into play that kind of, I wouldn't say it was directed exactly towards the black family, but it played a part in breaking apart that. Like when we spoke
So hit me
in
up.
it,
Go ahead,
what,
finish.
and then in breaking
No, my
apart the black family, the nuclear family, the family itself, the immediate family, it then trickled down into the community, and then it
Um,
eventually became a free for all down the line, down the years.
I just have a question for all of you.
We're here, we're listening.
go ahead, Brian.
Um, my question, because just listening to what you saying, like where you said the lack of togetherness, then the era that you brought up, I just want to see where we're at. We're talking about this from just the American standpoint, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, this is we're in America, Western
Yeah, I
culture
would
But
right
say
I
now.
it's
just
Yeah,
wanted to
based on.
clarify. Okay, because that makes a big difference. I don't know who listening to this pod here or there. I don't want people, in our sister countries to believe that there's no unity amongst black folks in its totality. Because,
And there is some unity. Now I ain't saying it's non-existent altogether. I just feel like we
but
far removed
but
for
it's
partly the reasons that
negligible
Tafari
in
talk
the
about.
U.S.
but it's exactly what Tafari spoke about.
But
Because
hold on,
if
go
you
ahead.
if you go back to that time, let me just go back to that specific time period and the era of the not so great American dream, after the trials and tribulations that our ancestors, those in America and in the Caribbean, faced, you know what I'm talking about in terms of slavery and segregation.
Mm.
Along those lines, where the Fari was talking about, the strength of the black family, and then, the unfortunate breaking of that nice unit bond is like what Deshaun said. Through the individualization, it becomes like, we were trying to integrate after segregation. So that in the integration led to the individualization, because when all these other immigrants tend to flow into this quote unquote America, they tend to bundle up together, succeed together before they branch out. But what you were saying, where they through integration, they only open up small gaps for a few black winners. So a person may slip through before they close that gap again. So by forcing to integrate and funneling a whole black community into this little opening, that led to that massive individualization, because sometimes I make it true. I'm not looking back. So we didn't, those who were after segregation, they didn't take that time, or they didn't have that ability. They had the small towns, yes, don't quote me on that. They had their pockets of time, but the true goal was to integrate, and that led to individualization, because the path wasn't open for the floodgates weren't open for everybody to run through. So that led to a mass separation, because we wanted to mix in before we were on solid footing as a group ourselves. So that's where I'm going on that small segment of the topic.
Because
I
Yeah,
want to hear what Biko's going to say first, because I
yeah,
saw
what
him
else you gonna say
pondering.
first? And then I will come back.
I mean, there are civil rights are and were civil rights activists who would make the claim that integration was one of the worst things that happened to the black community. Um,
So quick is what I'd say.
but the truth of it is, like you said, that it not may not. Oh, I don't remember if you said this, but like some of these things were specifically targeted at the black family and the black community. Like
I agree.
you talk about like the building of highways on the mainland through black communities that broke them up and didn't allow for that togetherness anymore. You have Black Wall Street that was bombed.
The
Um,
flooding of countless cities.
yeah, it's like, and then going back to the 60s, like when you talk about public housing or that era, I don't remember specifically the
Yeah,
60s, but
60s,
like
70s. Yeah,
public housing, yeah, you weren't
weak.
like
Yeah.
you couldn't live in there with a black woman and a, not just specifically, but like a man and a woman, like you couldn't live together, right?
Exactly.
So like when I talk about like if we're talking about any absence of like black men, that's why going back to like there are these very intentional policy decisions that were made and continue to be made for the sake of profit. And I think I don't know that it's just integration period or blanket. I think that the bigger thing is that we were sold on the hoax that is capitalism. I think we were sold on the idea of social mobility, and so many of us are fighting to get to a place where they could be on equal footing with white people, and that that doesn't work. That it doesn't work. Like
They give me
you'll
a
see,
false plate to step on.
like you'll see notorious cases like Candace Owens recently got fired from um whatever the right wing journalism.
I watched
Yeah,
uh
about it this morning.
yeah, and it's like it, you will get your seat but only for so long.
exactly.
Like your seat there at the table, but they also have you by the door to kick you out when they're ready, you
Why do
know.
we want a seat at their table?
And don't
That,
get me
and
wrong,
that's the
There's
sometimes
benefits to having a seat at their
sometimes
table. There's some
sometimes
benefits.
yes,
but
You
but
know,
we need our
so
own.
much success.
we need
No,
our own, but
that's
like Biko saying, we need a seat at their table so we could have a voice to push back certain policies that affect us.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also like if you think about some of the more successful periods of black organizing in the Virgin Islands and on the mainland, because when you think, say, about the Black Panther Party, when they were like really strong, one of the things that they did was ensure that they had free breakfast for children, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't learn if you're hungry, right? And
True.
so it's like that idea of the sankofa that we call, like the reaching back to your community, like that once we became sold on capitalism as a net benefit, like capitalism is one of those things where you cannot bring everyone along. Like you just can't. And once we were sold on that, I think that we became more okay with turning our backs on our communities.
Mm.
Exactly.
I com- I completely agree. That's what I want to say. We could segue into one of the topics. I agree. I don't want to beat that dead horse.
Well, actually, hold on, because I got something to tell you. So,
Let me hear the Tory. I listen.
so going back to these intentional policies, right?
Uh huh.
I try and decide how much shit I want to talk. Okay,
Talk as
Talk
going
your
much
to
shit,
shit as
books.
you want,
Talk your
man.
shit. Fuck
Talk
I
your
saying
shit.
that.
I tell you, you about to hit a spiritual with them. I hear a
My
tune like
son,
boom, boom,
I'm
no,
boom.
I,
starting
I,
to
I, wa-
feel it in my
I was thinking,
chest.
I was thinking.
So I said,
So
come on, something heavy.
back in the 1930s, right,
Mm.
in the Virgin
Back.
Islands, yeah, I took a step back because, like, you know that Kamala Harris quote, like, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree, you exist in the
Mhm.
context of all in which you live and what came before, right? And so,
I love that line. Yep.
like, it sounds funny as shit when she say it, but it's
Mhm.
so true because so in the 30s, America wanted to pilot the Green New Deal that essentially to everyone at the time looked like and was socialism. And St. Croix was chosen as the place to pilot this Green New Deal, right? And
Mhm.
so if you ever look at, there's a website called MapGeo that have all of
Mm-hmm.
the plots of land on St. Croix.
Yeah.
You'll see a bunch of them are VI Corp.
Mhm.
And so Castlebuck, and like back all like a lot of that is VI Corp land. And that was created at the time in such a way that they took land. So they said 70% of the land on Tinker at the time was owned by like 14 people total.
Yeah,
And
damn.
they took the land back from them and redistributed it to the people so that everybody could have their own little, not everybody, but a lot of people could have their own little parcels. They could farm because it was an understanding that agriculture was tantamount to the Virgin Islands thriving, especially St. Croix. Agriculture has
Mhm.
always been like a big deal for St. Croix, like just the geography of the island compared to St. Thomas St. John. And it was so successful, the establishment of this VI Corp, that they were able to fund public education through to high school for the first time. They were able to fund hospitals and a bunch of other social programs. When Harvey Aluminum came, um, the bauxite ore, Red
Mhm.
Mountain place,
Yeah. Without the
when
heavy.
that came, so it was them and it was Hess after, and they both chose St. Croix in part because it was American, but not so American that there were a lot of regulations.
Yep.
Mm.
And VI Corp had been so successful and was dissuading so many people from working in those fields, like in the refinery, and the mining plant, that literally they would have paramilitary operators go and burn down VI Corp land, like agricultural lands. Like
Yes, to funnel
when
people
I
into those companies. Yes,
yeah,
I do know.
it was at first they didn't
Sheesh.
choose to follow, and so like they no longer gave them a choice. We can burn you fuck down. And
True.
what happened there, right, is we created we created something of a middle class in the Virgin Islands, but not for everyone, right? And so it, like we keep trying to grab onto this capitalistic idea of progress, and we keep trying to look at things like our GDP, which is a measure of our general economic strength. Sure, I actually don't remember what the fuck my point was, but
I
it,
don't know either.
it
You
have
went
a
left
lot
while
of
you were
people.
listening.
It have a lot of people who will see this GDP being as high as it is or as healthy as it is, and it's like, well, what the fuck? I ain't got no money,
Yeah, it's skewed.
and so it's like, yeah, we have this idea that like the like we could move toward what we consider capitalism to, like within capitalism, to be success, but like that doesn't always work for everyone, least of all a colonial subject who doesn't have all of the control over our land. But
You know,
that's
you know what I don't think people to think about? The real reasons why this system is in place. The system that is the capitalistic system in America. And who put this system in place? And for what reasons? This is my opinion now. I don't know what's fact. I wasn't living back then. But at the time where a lot of these policies came into play, there's only a couple of people who had all the fucking money in America. These are the same people who had the greatest influence at the time, who are putting these things in place. For them, this shit was not for everybody to be able to take part of. It wasn't like they came
That's
from a
the same
place
thing with
of.
because it wasn't built for everybody to win.
To come true,
Not
yeah.
yeah. I
everybody
mean,
could get through.
at the time, Pywanski was the governor,
Mm-hmm.
and people from St. Croix had marched down to Government House at the time, and Pywanski literally locked the doors to Government House so that they could not get their complaints in. Like, these were things that were intentional, and when it was brought up, it was ignored. And all I saying is the last name still the wrong blood Netherlands. That's all I saying.
Mm.
My question is this: how can we win trying to play in a system where we don't even really understand the rules of the system that we kind of playing in? On top of the fact that the rules really only apply to a certain set of individuals.
I think that we understand the rules a little bit better than we give ourselves credit for, and I think that's a part of why so much of the shit exists. Because, for example, if you see what you perceive to be a man who is more feminine than I guess he should be, like that's an understanding of the rules. That's a very clear understanding that that man should not
Good point.
appear that way.
Good point.
So it's like it's from in my mind, the way I'd approach these things is it's not knowing the rules for me. It's not being willing to challenge them. And don't get me
Fair.
wrong, again, white supremacy exists and is very powerful. Like,
Facts.
cannot stress that enough. But like, there are still like, yeah.
I would say this, and then I'll hand it over to Fari, our also loving host, to take back the reins. I would say this. Good luck.
This
But I would
one,
say this. This is my biggest piece that I feel in the plight of when we're talking about Black Americans. I acknowledge that all these external factors exist. My thing is, as much as we could sit on here and talk about these things, I don't even think we have that much good of a grasp on the problems that we do have control of. And I feel like every time the conversation comes up about these things, immediately we automatically jump to those external things and not hold ourselves accountable. If we go back to the beginning of this conversation, right, something as simply as this: as men, not holding the other counterparts accountable. You being friends with partner who raping over here. You being friends with partner who killing over here. You being friends with this person who's doing bad mind things over here. At those lower levels, we can't even hold each other accountable and stand on no kind of business. So how can we expect how can any of us expect us as a community to get up here and stand against something even greater than those little simple senses of accountability, if I'm saying it correctly? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
I understand it. Like, let's talk about it and let's make strides towards that. But let's not just use this to disregard the shit that we got working on ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, why isn't it that we supporting it? Like, for example, the conversation that me and Fari had and me and Kendrick had the other day. In the Virgin Islands, in terms of black businesses, when they open up black businesses, why don't we hold each other accountable to stop going and shooting up these things? Stop going and loitering all over the place and making these things look crazy the same way other communities doing for them. We don't go to their shit and shoot their shit up, but we are quick to go to our shit and form the fucking ass. If we can't simply support our businesses in that regard
Sure.
and not do bullshit like that, how the fuck can
Mhm.
we grow and tackle the bigger problems? And maybe I'm being naive, but that's just my perspective of it. Like I said, I totally acknowledge everything that's going on, and we must continue to fight, and we have to try to, for one, get educated, which is because I alluded to earlier about the funding in the education system, which is a whole next fucking rabbit hole to go down. But for one, we need to educate ourselves to be able to understand the things that we're talking about, and we have to take actions on the smallest things and then work towards that. Because if we can't address these things and get on one accord for these things, every time we go to bat against bigger problems, we're gonna strike out. They're gonna look at us and laugh. We have no fucking backing within our own community.
Yeah,
I'm not placing the box.
the strength of people like Behemoth and Jackson, and just other Virgin Islands heroes that we consider heroes. A lot of that comes from a sense of sure personal sacrifice and struggle, but also a willingness and understanding to get the community together.
And I think
It's
that's
inevitable.
really
Far right.
where it boils down to the getting back to a point where we are a village and we are a community and we do look out for each other and we try to progress ourselves as a community forward. My question on that is how do we do that? Because sometimes it seems like that's a losing battle that we can never get back within the black community just based on the mentalities that's just so far gone. It seems like reeling that back in to reach to that point, both in the Virgin Islands. I mean, Virgin Islands is a smaller scale, so I would say it's easier here than in America, but in America as well, how do we even begin to create real change within the mentality of our community as a whole?
I mean,
It's a complex question.
I,
Like, they might ask that question like that. Fuck, got some simple answer. Like,
Simple
Me,
answer.
I mean,
no,
it's just because I do feel like it's, I don't want to believe that
I
it's a
think that we
losing battle.
underestimate
No, it's not.
it doesn't have to be. Um, it doesn't have to be. I think that one of the things that would be helpful is remembering that as humans we have like evolved to desire connection. Like like that's just how we are. We've evolved that way. When you're talking about the way like children learn as they're growing up, so much of that is through their interaction with like adults, with other
Mhm.
children, and that doesn't ever really stop as you progress through being a human. And I
absolutely.
think that if we begin to cultivate more spaces where we could have discussions across difference, I think that that's one way to start. Because, for example, I have a lot of friends who are further to the left who, had they been on this discussion, they'd have been cussing and all kind of like what if I get talking about gender? Nah, nah, nah. And I think that I can understand that urge, but I could also understand that I sat here and I listened to everything, and then I also communicated my own ideas, and at that point we were able to get something of an understanding. Like I don't know that I've changed minds. My point is that I've started something,
Mhm.
and
Facts.
we've started something like within like the listening to understand first and then to respond.
Facts.
And we don't do a whole lot of that. And I think, I mean, food is one of the big ones. Like, just people are gonna show up if you bring food. I don't know what else to say. Like,
Hey, hey, facts in the dog.
that has been a very important element of Virgin Islands community. We'd get together and we'd eat and drink.
Right.
Hey, listen, right? We have a whole campaign run based off the fact that motherfuckers like to eat food
I
and
Hey,
mean,
drink.
rest
that's
in
how
peace,
people
Alicia
have
Chucky
been
Hansen. But I mean, when she threw
have
up
been
fish fry,
winning these
people used to show
races.
up.
They used to show up.
Hey,
They used to show up.
People used to show
I
up.
would
Yeah.
say,
So
okay,
that's
that's one. I would say the great Bob Marley said, "Educate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." Listen,
My,
right? I do not think and this is in general, to be honest, that people really understand the power of education, the power of reading, and how serious this thing is to be ignorant out here. And I talk about ignorance by its definition, to not know, to not know, you could be influenced by anything. And we
But
say no out here, right?
even that same knowledge could poison you because you could know a lot and be reading into the
Listen,
True,
wrong
but
things.
let Web say
so
what
now
Web
we playing
saying.
devil's advocate. I, yeah, read. I don't listen at this point. Where we at is not. If I sit on here and I put a poll, I have done it before, and I put a poll on my Instagram of how many people
Mm-hmm.
are reading anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't talking about social media. I talking about reading books. And don't get me wrong, I do acknowledge the fact that you can be straight. But listen, let's
Mm-hmm.
deal with that problem as we get there. At least
Mm-hmm.
let's deal with the problem of motherfuckers not reading at all, and you
But
having
let's be honest,
and
you're polling a question about reading on Instagram. What if I'm just a true intellect and I'm not even wasting my time on in social media and getting all the
let's be
knowledge?
real. Okay, that's you and the few. Let's really
This
talk
guy.
about the influence of social media. Stop your bullshit on this fucking
I
party
think
here.
that's
You
the
hear me?
masses. You
I
saying
just
the
want to
few.
acknowledge
Hey,
I am a true intellectual, and I don't be on social media all day.
But I just here to
hey,
show
Peace of
you that
mind.
that's literally what I'm here for. I'm here to show you that anything can
But
be
nah,
combated.
but nah, no, and I can't. But listen, we're gonna fight the fight. People need to
I
start
mean,
reading and educating themselves. And I'm saying you
That's
guys
true,
sit down here and
100%.
educate yourself in terms of like you gotta be educated on politics and something. But you need to, for one, educate yourself and really start to get in tune with yourself to understand your
so
thoughts.
what it
And we have
sound
talked
like
about
you
this hundreds of
saying?
times on the pod.
It sound like what you saying is it starts with you, but
Facts.
goddamn, but obviously it starts with you, but the you ain't trying to do. So that's a
That
hard place to start from.
I mean,
That's a very hard place to
Wait,
I
start
feel
if you
like
say it starts
let me
with
hear what
you.
Biko got say. He fidgeting
good
down
point.
there. Let me hear what Biko got say.
two things. The first is, and I truly don't mean any offense by this statement
Uh huh.
Go ahead.
All
because
the
I
offense
know
should be
I
taken care
know
of.
it's a popular book. I know it's a popular book.
Uh
Fuck
huh.
you,
But I
Biko.
need men to stop reading 48 Laws of Power.
You know,
I
hey,
need
wait,
us.
hold on. Before you
I
go,
need us.
you know what's so
Hey,
I need us to
crazy?
stop.
You know
your
what's so
story,
crazy
your
about you
story,
saying that?
Web just
Hey,
goes off
don't
the
fucking
top.
like you watch my story in the dog.
No, I say, this is a long held belief, the man.
Hey, because you know what's funny,
Ooh.
right? I post that book
Right,
yesterday
yesterday.
or the day
Yeah.
before. But hold on, we're gonna talk about it on the pod though. I wasn't really. I'm being a lie. You know what's so crazy? When Biko said, so this is my first time actually reading a book, and I'm
Mm.
not going to lie to you. Upon and I ain't even that far in, I completely agree with what Biko say. The
I don't
reason being, I
tell me
do
because I
not
don't know the
think
book.
we are in the mental place
Hmm.
to be reading a fucking book like that.
Okay,
For
dive in
most
and
people that
give
read
me the sound
that
bites of the
fuck is
book.
going to be counterproductive to anything that we seen on here in this pod talking about. Because while
Give me
that
a little
book is
snippet of the book, Biko, because I have never
Well,
read it.
here's what I will do instead.
Hmm.
I
that's
will
that is
suggest
funny.
a book that the man them watching this need to cop.
That
Is a
is
book called Nobody by Mark Lamont Hill.
let me go check it
And
out.
so one of the reasons why this book is especially interesting is because it takes big I don't know, big moments in like our most recent civil rights movement, namely Black Lives Matter. So like Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, um God, there's like two or three other stories he'd a profile. But the point is he doesn't just discuss what happened the day that whatever happened.
Hmm.
Mm.
He talks about the things leading up to what got us here. So like when he talked about Mike Brown being shot in Missouri, he began his story I think in like 1930s in the Midwest, because like it does go back that far to see how so many, like I said, like these either intentional or unintentional policies that get us here. But then he also creates a sort of comparison between the black community and the Palestinian community. And
Mm.
one of the things that has stick in my mind when I think about that connection is at the time when the country was protesting over Mike Brown, it was Palestinians who were sharing with Black Lives Matter protesters how to avoid tear gas from the police.
Yeah.
And so it's like I think being able to see not just like the connections to the past, our connection to the past, but also our connections to very real ongoing conflicts that really have seem to have nothing to do with us, but are very, very, very much in line with what we're going through.
I just buy it on Amazon. I gonna check
It's
it
a
out.
good book. It's a very,
But
very good.
to answer your
Mm,
question, Brian, why I would say me personally, why I wouldn't
Mhm.
want to recommend that book to people.
Mhm.
That book that almost promote the individualistic kind of thinking. Like
Okay.
if you with the state of how everything is in this capitalistic system, if you sit on here and read that book without like really knowing who you are, knowing yourself, and have a really good moral compass to yourself,
Mhm.
that book could lead you to do a lot of destructive things to people, my boy. To be honest with you, and it sounds stupid because we're talking about a book here, but like I say,
Mhm.
if for the people that who really looking for this book for guidance, it could lead you in a way that it can have an influence on you that you may not necessarily want it to have on you.
Hmm.
it's almost like the art of manipulation, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty much
yeah.
that. That's exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying?
You
And
look up, wait.
and in itself, it's a book that is being sold. So in itself, it is a form of manipulation as well. So now you go about this book reading it willy nilly without a good moral compass and good thing, you can go out there and be
You
a really
become a
destructive kind
menace
of
to
person.
So if I
society.
don't have no sense of self, I should not pick up this book. That's what you're saying.
Nah, that like
Okay.
as much as I post it and I post it before I even start indulging in it, and then when I
Uh-huh.
start to indulge in it, it's like, wow, yeah, Mister.
So,
It
Me
but
does
like
like,
have
this the one.
some very
did you feel
powerful
yourself
laws in there,
swaying?
though. I
It does. I ain't discrediting the book at all. You know what I'm saying?
Also, you
It's
read this book
just
as well, Fari.
not this entirety, but I've read. I have the book
Oh,
in my room as well. I didn't finish it. I read a few of
wow.
the laws, the stories behind it.
Did you feel any
Um,
sway in yourself when you was
I
reading this
mean,
book?
I think I have a pretty good grasp of myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see how utilizing the lessons taught in that book can really just have you being a friggin' demon into society and just swindling the minds of people without them even knowing just to get your way. And if you're a selfish person, you just become a damn protagonist, antagonist
menace
to
to
the world.
society.
Just
Yeah. Well, it's
it's
a good thing I stayed away from this book because I've seen it. I saw the web
you
recommendation, but like
You see,
I've never,
hey,
I've
you
never
saw the
ran.
man got brag. You saw that man to paint it now. I just said, listen, right? But you see how man gonna
I,
paint it
I don't,
now?
I don't run towards books of those like of that type, like that self help. Like nobody can really tell me of how to be a better me in my sense. So I'm still on the path of discovering self. So interesting to know that you went down and you saw it wasn't really something that I don't know. You let me know. We'll have a next discussion about it if you finish the book, web,
We can
and
have
we
an
could
offline.
dive
We can have an
into.
offline. We can have an offline. I
Yeah.
will say I'm going to continue the book. I know my
Yeah,
intentions. You know what I'm
no, no,
saying?
no. I want you to
But
finish
it
the book
wouldn't
so
be
that we
one
can have
that
an
I would
offline
recommend to
conversation
my.
about. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I said I want you to finish the book so we can have like a offline conversation
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the completion of the
yeah.
book. So that's what
Yeah, it
we
definitely
can move
wouldn't be
forward.
one like I know what audience I'm targeting when I put up my content and I put up my stuff,
Uh huh.
and now
and it's not
indulging
you,
into
Bryan.
the book. I shut the fuck up. Now, now, like indulging into the book, it wouldn't be something that I would recommend to my audience and white training. And don't get me wrong, even with me by myself, like you know what I'm saying, who is me to say what the hell I could who am I to say what my audience should do, what not. Just knowing the kind of effect that I want to have on people, hopefully it's positive, whatever they take it. That's not something I would recommend. I think that book could lead to more destruction than it can lead to goodness. Like even if you're a good person, I think you could avoid that book and still have a very happy life amidst you. To be
Because I
honest.
mean, like a lot of people will read that book and in their minds is like one of these days like I'm being in some boardroom. I need to be able to like play with the minds of the people in front of me so that I could like get my deal or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
literally speaking, a lot of these men reading this book and going home to terrorize a woman. Like
Woman,
that's
my boy,
like
be like you, right? The first I must have read the preface or whatever the fuck it was, boy. And the first thing I think about, right, was why being a like man gonna use this book to terrorize fucking woman, my boy. I knew that was gonna be the outcome of it. I
And
knew.
I'm
Yep.
But
sure
listen, I used to start the chapter and I don't say yeah. Man gonna
I'm
use
sure
this book
thousands
to
of
use
men
against woman, my boy.
have used it already against women. I'm sure that
You,
that has already
you
been
check.
the
I
case.
don't know that for fucking my boy.
Somebody doing it right now as we speak.
Just, just don't come with a battery from
Yeah.
squeezing in a chapter. Not ready for you.
All right.
My
I'm
son?
being a good co-host right now. We're
Yeah,
gonna do a
yeah,
little
yeah,
segment.
yeah.
Because you got some great things going on right now.
Hmm.
It was brought to my attention. I didn't see the post originally. I said, a matter of fact, I don't have your new account as a friend on Facebook, Biko.
I got to add
Well,
you.
The only reason I see this is because I when the man send the new things you're doing in the chat, I was like, hold on, what the fuck me see this? Then that's when I realized you even got a new Facebook. I don't be
Yeah,
paying attention to them kind of things, you know what I'm saying? But I wanted to
yeah,
shed light and talk a little bit about what you have going on and a little bit about why you kind of want to start that, etc.
yeah. So I recently I signed recently, but this this began early 2023, I think. When I have first start gain like my license and everything for the business. So it's called Yellow Cedar Consulting, named after our national flower, Yellow Cedar or Ginger Thomas. And the honest, I had to stress my brother. So Tariq, my brother, he owned he owned a business, right? He's a legitimate businessman. He's a counselor. He runs a behavioral health agency. And if I want real like to see how a really well run business is done, like he's a really great model. On the other hand, myself, I tend to be more on the chaotic spectrum of things, and I started Yellow Cedar Consultant because I realized that I get asked to do a lot of things that I didn't consider to be like special at all until I realized I was the only person being asked to do some of those things. And what I really want to do is introduce or amplify the role that data can play in the
Mm.
territory across like the like every sector. So I've seen bills go to the Senate floor that could have used more data to back it up. I've seen like board level policies that could use more data. Nonprofits applying for grants who could use more data in their applications to bolster the points that are being made. The problem is that a lot of people see data and think of data and they think just math, and like people don't fuck with math. And to be fair, I didn't fuck with math either. Like I used to. It
right.
wasn't until like 9 to 10th grade, like that's when Quiz Bowl come into the play, and um, that's when I really start being like, yeah, okay, man, maybe math ain't that bad. Uh, but the truth of it is, so one of the things I did recently was I went on the legislature website and I like pulled all the data for every bill, and I created a dashboard that shows from the 31st to the 35th legislature who passed how many bills or how many acts passed into law. And I don't really have anything to do with that, like anything that I want to do with that right now. I think I was just trying to demonstrate the point that like when it comes to advocacy, if you could pull up a senator or a commissioner, governor, whatever, and be like, listen, I know you said XYZ, but my data saying like ABC, like then people ain't problems. And I really want to bring the power of that and also some of the power of AI, specifically generative artificial intelligence. And I'm conflicted. Let me tell you why I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted with AI because, first of all, I don't like AI images. It's just too smooth for me. I don't like the look of them. They're just uncanny. But I think the bigger problem is a lot of people might see something like ChatGPT and be like, "Shit, either this is very powerful. Let me use it and not really know what I'm doing," or "Shit, this is too powerful. Let me stay away from it." and both of those approaches are incorrect
I had a
because
conversation with that today. Literally today.
yeah, it's like, I mean, for my job, we have a shared ChatGPT account like across my team. Like we're using ChatGPT in the course of like very large budget projects, right? And you see in businesses like McKinsey and Co, which is one of the big consulting
Consulting
firms,
firms, yep.
put out like white papers on AI and the eventual economic impact.
Yep.
And I think everyone is trying to rush into like the AI tech space and trying to go the like venture capital, like
Yep.
get rich kind of route. But realistically, there are so many things that could be done at the community level using AI that we don't consider. For example, I like say you have students in your classroom who hate whatever the fuck you teach, right? But they love basketball, whatever. You could take your lesson plan, upload it, and be like, create something out of basketball for this for me. And there you have a tailored
A whole
curriculum
plan.
for a student, and is like in a couple seconds,
Right.
right? And then there's the use of it for again nonprofits, because across the country, nonprofits fill a very big gap that government often does not. The problem is our a lot of our nonprofits are small and built by people who have a lot of passion, but there are certain like, I guess, abilities that they may not have the time to focus on, or like either picking up, or may not have the ability to hire people to take care of certain things that AI could very like. When I tell, I don't think people don't listen to me when I say I had to use AI for a lot of shit, right?
Biko,
Because
Biko, I literally said that exact statement. I was talking to a lady. People don't know I do a lot of marketing things behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? I'm very good at AI. Like I've took classes on how to use AI, how to talk to the AI. And
Mhm.
that statement you just said, when I tell people, I don't think y'all understand what we have in our hands. And the same thing
Mhm.
you said earlier about like how people use it and use it as a scapegoat to not learn anything. But what you just said, I tell people, y'all don't understand how much I use this AI in my life and in jobs. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people ain't understanding that like AI is coming. It's not, you know how you
How
had
can you say
like
coming? That fucking here.
it's here,
It's
right? It's
here.
here. Like it's been here
It's
for a
here.
while, right? But I think people equating it with like crypto and blockchain, how like that had a really quick rise and a really quick fall. And don't get me wrong,
Mm.
certain like cryptocurrency
Still
still
around.
around. Like
Mhm.
it ain't, it's not the same boom that it was at the time. Everybody was trying to get rich off crypto at the time.
Yeah.
AI is such a big deal that like the European Union, the US, just countries and blocks of countries across the world creating policies to make sure that this remains safe. Like I don't think that there's the understanding of just how powerful it is now,
Right.
but more importantly, how powerful it can be in the future. And
Straight up.
what I want to do with Yellow Cedar Consulting is bring responsible usage to the territory. That's really one of the things that I want to get done,
I
all
like that.
while serving in like a capacity of being extended help for businesses. So like if you need data analysis, just call me. I'll help you out. Reports, grant writing, grant research, all those kinds of things.
I like that because for me, my thing is marketing. I'm in school for advertising. I'm about to change right now, but I was in school for advertising. I have a bunch of marketing certifications, and I think one of the biggest things, I was the people I could really go home and make a bunch of money because while there is a lot of marketing aspects going on in the Virgin Islands, seldom of them is really based on any data analytics, and I could tell by the way they go. Once you start to, and this is the people go read and learn, you could tell, right? By the way they're going about it, that is not based in any kind of data analytics. What you just said, man, because I love you in the dog. Like we ain't talking so like that, but dude, you're a powerful. No. All jokes aside, all jokes aside, you're a powerful dude, dog. You're a powerful dude, and I will stand behind any. I don't got to talk to you in months, and I know whatever you come up with, I stand behind that shit because I know it coming from
Appreciate
a
that.
place of true wanting to be able to make a positive influence in whatever community it is you're solving, you know what I'm saying? So when I hear you talk about what you're trying to do, I say, I'm like, wow. Like if people, and we're gonna sit down here and talk about it, and people are still gonna take it with a grain of salt when we talk about it, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Until, and there's going to be the ones who like, okay, yeah, I could kind of see it, but I want people to understand the power and just the example that you use and be able to hold your politicians accountable based on data. Because these are things we look past. If you voting in, and you're not really paying attention, until somebody put this data in front of you, you may not even notice that this trend was going on. So it's a very powerful thing that you're doing in terms of being able to put this on the forefront. And I know you import that data because I know that shit might have caused a uproar.
I when I tell you I had the shit done with all the names attached to it, and I had to sleep on it. Like I said, no, let me let me relax, let me relax, because really what happened is I think people remember me from the louder version of me on my other Facebook page, but
Mm.
like I ain't got the energy for that no more. I like I trying to be a little bit. Don't get me wrong, don't forgive me, but I try to be a little more tactical and quiet in my approach to these things. But also recognizing that senators, as much as we criticize them, could also use help in this regard. Like I've seen
Exactly.
politics on like the national level, state level, local level, and one of the things that unites them is a lot of politicians don't have a good grasp on some of the key concepts that you need to push really good, impactful legislation. And they
Mm.
do try to like they do try to fill those gaps by like hiring research legislative researchers and like people in their office who could fill some of those things. But the reality is a lot of our things aren't grounded in great research or data. Um, and part of it is because people don't understand data.
They
They
don't
don't understand
understand.
the
Straight
power
up.
of it.
It look like you say, it look like numbers. And when it comes to math, most people like, hey,
It's scary.
yeah, fuck this. You know what I'm saying? So it takes somebody to come out here and say, hey, and like I said, the conversation I had with Kevin. Kevin gonna tell me go run for senator. I say absolutely fuck not. That's a mission I want to take on. That's not the mission I want to take on.
I
Like
would
hell no.
also
Yeah.
So I
say,
respect what you're doing, man. Go ahead.
I would say, on top of just people not having that level of data collection in backing the data and policies that they put out, that they also, especially in the BI, we do a pretty bad job of just not having that information just there at a click away on a website where it's all compiled
Because why
for
is a
various
PDF?
data. Like
Let me talk about it.
it's
Why is a
kind of actually
PDF?
crazy.
Sorry, I'm very passionate about
It's
data,
kind of
and
crazy.
I for the life of me don't
You know
understand
how
why
much times I
everybody.
looking up certain
Yeah,
information in the
No, but
VI and I just there's almost nothing. You have to literally find a needle in a haystack to find the information you're looking for because it should be
and
It's
public and
buried
easily
inside of
accessible
something else.
information, but it's you have to go searching
man,
and it's
You
just
got
not
to go
there.
searching.
I wish
So
I had
many
4 days.
times this happened to me.
I wish I had 4 days for this fucking plan.
Man, Biko
Because that's how
definitely
long
you
you gonna
gotta
take me to
come
talk
back.
about these
That's for
fucking
sure.
topics, man.
You gotta
I'm
come
not gonna
back.
lie to you, because you got to come back, my boy. You got to come
no,
back.
this is it's a very good vibe to like sit again with like high school friends, man.
Yeah.
I
No, no
it's a good
disrespect to our
vibe.
other guests. No disrespect to our other guests. But me and life, because you got to come back. You got to come back. But
Say the
now,
word,
Farah,
say
what
the
you
word.
saying the truth, man. And the same thing I talked to Kendrick about the other day. I was like, a lot of the misconceptions that is going on based on what's going on in the community sometimes in the Virgin Islands is really based from the lack of data and the lack of information being put out there, which the thing I told Kenrick was I don't see why that needs to be a thing in such a small territory. If we're talking about America, then cool. There's a big ass shit we gotta deal with. But we're talking about a small community. Everybody's
Everything
seeing
should be
VI
readily
consortium and
available.
these kind of
Everything
things. You
should
know
be
what I'm saying?
readily available, but it's not. That's
Every single thing, dude. From every single department in the government to just any information you want, we should be able to Google that shit and it at least has three
that's a
different
whole
links
next
to click on
that's
that
a
has
whole next
useful
rabbit hole
information.
fire because I mean
That
there are
is
people in these
that's a
positions
huge rabbit
whose
hole.
responsibility is to provide this information. So that's
But
a whole
hold
next
on,
rabbit hole,
hold
man.
on.
But they
Yellow
like
see that breaking the
89.
way, man. Yellow see
Hey,
that will make sure this fuck come out.
It's gonna take somebody like Yellow Cedar to bring them from the floppy disk era into the AI era.
Jeez.
Jeez.
Because
And I
People
mean,
like,
and we still rocking the floppy disk in the Virgin Islands.
yeah, realistically, the government could write a grant, or apply for a grant to get data in a state that's machine readable. First of all,
More money for them to dwindle. Thanks,
Biko,
Biko.
it's called
I ain't
unsolicited, unsolicited proposals, man. Send those,
you right,
send that,
you right,
send that shit out,
you right,
and
you
without
right.
them asking, and somebody going bite. And once somebody bites, they're going to just
I'm like,
start to
wait,
see the transformation,
I could,
and then they'll
I
be
could
like,
pay
whoa,
Yellow
whoa,
Cedar
whoa,
to do my
who
work.
you just hit up to do that? They'll be like, what? Yellow Cedar?
No,
Boom. Everybody
they
coming
gonna
out.
tell us soul. They gonna come on the back end from an email.
Gatekeeper.
We gonna get one of those info that VI. We would like to bring you into consult, and Yellow Cedar will never see the light of day. That person is going to submit other Yellow Cedar's work as their own. We're talking about a VI here.
Hey, but
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I would
I
say
honestly the get
send
nervous
that
about
shit,
business
Biko.
and be
Send that shit,
Because
man.
gonna be a back end worker, so you gotta send the offer to the front door.
Hey,
Just
every front door, every front door.
I this close to tagging the governor on Facebook. This close.
he ain't about to be governor long taggy, and
Oh
then we gonna
Lord,
repost it.
Jesus Christ, Brian.
oh
No,
Lord,
Hey, listen, Bryan is an unruly nigga, you know. Don't mind my wine bottle over here.
Lee.
like why are you? Why is this thing is like why are you holding back? He literally is quote unquote for us. So he's on Facebook. He's trying to be sociable. Why can't I tag? Why can't you tag him? You know.
I would.
You're
I'd
saying you would, and I'm
Listen, you see how this
challenging you to do it.
listen to
no,
this fucking
but what happened is
Send
instigate.
the email. Send the
why is it like
email.
It seems like
anyone
Yellow
would
Cedar
send them
needs
an
somebody
email.
like me on the team because my finger is always ready to push the trigger. Like, why not? What's holding you back? What's stopping you? You're
No,
a
I will
consultant.
say
You can draft it. I will send it. That's fine.
bet. No, I will say I
I will
have
hand deliver
emailed
it if you
him.
need me to. I'd be like, hey, my boy Brian, nice Brian. Hold this here for me.
Because
I got
what
Because
what
he's
you
a
were
no,
public,
saying,
he is a public servant. We need to get back to that. He's supposed to serve us.
Man,
He
so
should have no, he should have no
I'm
fear
getting
about asking
look
me
at
or
the
tagging
passion
him.
in his eyes.
Like,
no,
people like,
I
I
don't have
could
no
have
fear
asked
of
Brian,
talking to the governor.
Governor Brian,
I
why didn't you? He's here to
realistically
serve you,
what happened
to answer
was
your questions, to meet your
Man,
at
needs.
the time when I was emailing, he got I'm one of those people who like have ideas at like 2 in the morning and be like, I got to get this shit to somebody.
And you didn't send it at 2 in the morning. Stand on business.
Oh hell yeah, I did.
Oh, well, see, that's
That's
what
what
I'm
I
talking
did.
about.
Like
That's what
bad
I'm
man
talking about.
about. But
books.
really, what happened was
Oops.
I I think at the time I didn't have the capacity to really push forward on Yellow Cedar,
Mm-hmm.
just because like new job trying to fit into that role.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Like the other thing to be the job I did now is such a good job. Like I ain't gonna real incentive. Like I
Oh
don't
man, listen, I could talk about that topic like, oh man,
I
go ahead.
like
Go.
I love what I'm trying to do with Yellow Cedar, but it's like you don't want to hire me? Fuck, I still good at eating. But really, like, I think this was born of myself realizing that I don't have all of the energy to be on the front lines because that, like, if you know me for like a long time, you know that I was not always the person who was like at the front. Like
Facts.
I was very often like at the back, just like let me play the background, and
A
I don't know
strong
what.
Batman. A strong
Yeah,
Batman.
is like what I was like. Why am I trying to fit this role that I've never really been in? You know, like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mm,
nerd. That's what I am. I'm a nerd. Like I let me play my nerd role and also play my advocacy role because we also have a lot of people in the community who are sort of like really yearning to get understanding on like things broken down for them,
Mm-hmm.
and either intentionally or not, our policymakers don't stop to break things down.
Mm-hmm. That's
Like
true.
and so to fill that role,
There's a
or to
fear
try
and
to
understanding. They don't like to give out because if everybody had the knowledge, like you said, they could question them. So there's a reason they're not explaining things.
Mhm.
That's me. I'm one of those journalists for information. I like
But this
information.
that service
I
is
love. That's why the
absolutely
question everything,
needed, Biko. Absolutely needed.
and
And
that's okay, because if you need a
all it
front
takes
man
is
who
one
willing to kick in the
yes.
door,
Because
you know
I
who to
think
come
once that
to.
one yes comes and people actually see those results and really see how powerful that is,
Yeah,
especially
and
for the greater
eventually,
public to
like, I
access.
really want to get other Virgin Islanders involved. I think one of the eventual goals of Yellow Cedar. Oh,
Continue,
weapon.
continue.
Oh, one eventually what I really want to do is Virgin Islanders like myself who are away working but still have a particular set of like skills. I would really like to create a environment where they could contribute those home while also living abroad. And
Listen,
so
my talent.
really it's like eventually a network of consultants here or in the mainland and back home
Yes,
to
a proper
build capacity.
pipeline. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
But eventually, not anytime soon.
Yeah, we have time.
Super side note, real quick. I'm nothing against the name of your consulting firm at all. I feel like the flamboyant tree should have been the national flower.
You know
Just
what? I
I
like that
feel.
fucking argument. I like that fucking
I mean,
argument.
when you look at Ginger Thomas throughout the lands from far away, it could look like a bunch of weeds. But when you see, but when you see a flamboyant tree from 50 miles
I
out,
mean,
you see that thing just glistening with the beauty of that red burning through the green.
Facts.
But
I
but
agree with that.
but
I
I do
back my
think
boy far right.
what I would say, Ginger Thomas, it seems pretty invasive with how serious it grows throughout the island. So I guess its abundance is what really caused it to be
I
the
can't.
and
You
yeah, don't
can't.
get
I
me wrong,
can't fault
it's
that.
a
That word.
beautiful tree, but its abundance is just
The word in abundance kind of tricky
incomparable.
because when you went to that abundance, I'm gonna take another pivot to the yellow breast. The yellow breast isn't here in abundance. Our national bird could have been a pigeon. That that
No,
brown
no,
pigeon
no,
is
you
more apparent.
I
Yes,
will be
that's
damned.
the truth. When last you see a yellow breast? Let me ask you that. When
it
last you
should
see a
have been
yellow
the
breast?
But
chicken,
not a
really, the chicken.
pigeon.
A
The
chicken.
When have
chicken.
you ever
I'm fighting
a
chicken.
retard a kikiriki? Our national bird is a kikiriki.
Hey,
You're ridiculous.
but that is dope. I do fuck with a name heavy. Yellow Cedar
I want.
Yeah,
Consulting.
in
Yeah,
my head,
it
in so
gives
up east
culture.
end, pa my father live or pa his houses.
Mhm.
When you driving up there, they
It's
have a
beautiful.
mountain that you facing, and
Yeah.
like certain points of the year, it'll just be yellow. Like that's
Right
it, just
now,
yellow.
it's completely yellow.
And
Yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
to
yeah,
Right
you.
now,
that was the image I had. Yeah,
yeah,
All right. I don't close 'cause I like to close.
yeah, yeah. Let's get
And
it.
I want to close something. I want to close something personal, but I also want to bring up a story because we got my boy Biko here. I remember the time we went by Biko house and Biko had this bottle of Cruisian rum
Oh, my
from
grandpa, man.
19.
But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It,
Big up to
you
Stanley.
know
what
how old this liquor was, dog.
what a man! Some of them bottles
Man.
were like about probably my age. Like I mean, don't get me wrong, them I used to
No,
drink a lot. So I
the
may,
one that
maybe
you
ain't
gave
off
that
a
you
lot.
pulled out was older than us. And I'm talking about older than us at this age, not at that age.
Dog, that was one of the bottles that you watch the bottle like, but wait, man.
I think it
when
was
this
a
never brew,
discontinued logo. I remember that day. Because that day led to a different event we shall not speak about in the
we
past.
ain't gonna talk about that. But hey, pleasure having you for sure, because and I want to share something personal. And this is a weird feeling. Maybe it's a little wine gave me and my feelings a little bit. But I feel really good. And this is like an insecurity of mine me back in the day. I feel really good that I could really sit on here and have this conversation with Alman. Because
Yeah,
really and truly throughout like high school years where I used to look up to Alman as like intellectuals and things, you know what I'm saying? And I know me, I was the joker, man, don't really give a fuck with boys. But to say that I could really sit on here and have an opinion about some of these things and that I am actually like knowledgeable to my own, what I feel like is knowledgeable to me, and I actually passionate about some of these items, it's really dope, man, to be able to sit on here and talk to y'all about these things, man. I would not have think that this would have been my part in life to be doing shit like this and talking about these issues and me trying to contribute to something that's very much bigger than myself. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate the man as usual, man. This is my sense of gratitude. But with that, man, it's been a fucking amazing episode of the Come
Wait,
True
wait, wait, wait.
podcast.
Slow down.
It'll be
Let me cut
Oh,
you off, Sari.
that's the
go
best.
ahead,
You
Let
go
off
ahead,
the
mentioned
go ahead,
boss.
go ahead.
you mentioned the word gratitude, and I think
Uh-huh.
Oh
Brian
shit!
did skip
Yes,
through
yes,
without
yes,
saying what
yes,
he's thankful for.
yes.
Sorry for
Patrick,
that.
show your gratitude, man. Show your gratitude. What you gratitude? What you have gratitude for? If I can fuck up right now, man. What?
Who are you talking to? Me?
Yeah,
Yes,
nigga.
you.
Oh.
Ah,
Well, thank you for, cutting out a little parts of your time to the end to swing back to me. I feel honored. Um, Honestly, my gratitude is so simple this week. I know the two of you guys know, but I just been all over this nice continuous US for the past 2 weeks. I'm so grateful to sleep in my own bed. I know it's simple, but it means a lot. It means a lot to me. I'm tired. I thought jet lag was a thing that the weak people complained about, but now I know crossing several time zones back and forth, it really does something to you. Sleeping in
Mm-hmm.
other people's bed just ain't a move. A hotel is good when you're there for vacation, but not when you're there for work. So I'm truly grateful to sleep in my own bed. I shower in my own shower. So stayed in a few questionable places. So I am thankful just to be back home. You know, people in America are now too happy. Seems sad.
Any parting words, Biko?
Um, I mean this in the most peaceful way possible.
oh
Um,
gosh.
all youth shall witness when Babylon fall.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's the
Yeah,
dread. That's the dread Biko right there for Mr.
yeah,
Just
that's a
Fucking.
bit. That's a bit. How long I know you know, Biko?
Hey.
We've been like 12, 13 in 7th grade. Yeah, that Babylon talk still strong.
If I right, take me away, man. You take me away
But
from
no,
that
for
shit.
real. Though, thanks for having me. It was
It was
really
a
good to.
pleasure. It was
We
a
having you
pleasure.
back, bro. You have to come back, bro.
Yeah,
We
I
will talk
down.
yeah,
I'm
offline
for
in a
down.
sure.
second, but you have to come back
For
for
sure.
sure,
So I
for
just
sure.
want to say thank y'all for tuning in. It is a beautiful Sunday evening. Biko, thank you for coming through. It was a pleasure having you. You must come back. And not
For
once, not
sure.
twice. You must come back several times. But yeah, so it was great conversations. We completely threw out everything that we had to talk about, which was good. I was happy when Webb did throw that in and say fuck everything. Let's just go where we going. And yeah, thank y'all for coming out. I appreciated the show.